Hey, Darkest. What do you want? What? I can't come in and say hello. Do you not want me to come visit you, Darkest? Generally, N, whenever you show up, it's a fucking disaster, okay? So, what do you want to say? It hurts that you feel that way. I mean, I come in just to check up on you because, you know, it's been a while since you've done your review, that's all. Oh, good, we're on this again. Okay, not that it's any of your business, but I actually do have a review in the works we're working on right now. I'm currently doing a review, right? Is that the Evil Within review? Yes. It's the one for the Evil Within. Wasn't the Evil Within review meant to be for Halloween? Okay, you know what? I know it's meant for the Halloween review, but it's a new decade, it's a new year, and that can be a time of uncertainty and change for a lot of people. And that's, you know, scary, so it's still appropriate. So in short, I'm not getting rid of this review just to satisfy you. So it doesn't bother you at all if I say that this next review is meant to be your 100th review and you're just wasting it with the Evil Within? What? You know, I'm just saying, you know, it's like your 100th review, you should probably, like, you know, do something that means something to you, you know, that kind of thing. I'll let you get on with it. You probably have a lot of work to do with that Evil Within review. It's just a 100th review, it doesn't matter, it's not anything important. I'll let you get on. I love these little chats, Darkest. Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. He wonders why I don't want him around. Salutations, Cinemasochists, it's me, Darkest101, and yeah, this is it. The big 100. It's my 100th review. And as the introduction so kindly suggested, I only realised it was my 100th review after spending a couple months working on an Evil Within review for Halloween, which I didn't realise wouldn't be a fitting 100th review. I didn't address the fact it was a 100th review at all. But, you know, there's no point crying over spent film because I've already spent that film. 100 reviews. And, yeah. I think it's time for a B. And since you've probably all read the title, you know what we're talking about today. Ratchet and Clank. The early days of the PS2 were an odd time, weren't they? It was a time when game developers weren't sure if consoles needed mascots anymore, but they tried to do it anyway. In the early days, there were 3 video games vying for the top spot within a year of each other for the PlayStation 2. Jak and Daxter released on December 3rd, 2001, Sly Cooper released on September 23rd, 2002, and then on November 4th, 2002, just before the PS2's second birthday, came along the legendary duo that were Ratchet and Clank. Fun fact about this particular copy of Ratchet and Clank, it is not mine. My older sister had a PlayStation 2 before we did in our house. It's a long story anyway. So she lent me her copy of Ratchet and Clank and I never gave it back. Hi, Sophie. Anyway, Ratchet & Clank was developed by veterans of the Sony PlayStation, Insomniac Games, who had just handed off the Spyro franchise to Universal Interactive, who went on to do many great and wonderful projects with that beloved IP. Anyhow, moving on from Spyro and his career after Insomniac, the studio created a brand new IP for the PS2 that would become the platforming, third-person shooting, planet-hopping, badass duo Ratchet & Clank. And history was made that day, creating a series of games that outlasted Jak and Daxter, outlasted Sly Cooper, heck, it even outlasted Insomniac's franchise for the PS3. This game series outlasted the Resistance trilogy for the PlayStation 3. The game has 2 direct sequels, 3 spin-offs, a second stage of games, 2 indirect sequels, and a reimagining. There are 13 games in this franchise at this point, spanning the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation Portable, the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation Vita, and the PlayStation 4. And it all started with the subject of today's review. Let's get started, shall we? Sorry about that. God, 2002. It's been so long since this game was released. I mean, it's been like 18 years at this point. The game can drink legally now in the UK at least. Pour one out for you, boy. Any excuse to drink on camera. Okay, so I honestly don't know how to start this review without constantly getting distracted, so I'll start it with this, shall I? Ratchet and Clank, to me, is the perfect video game. Like, no other video game compares. No other video game has captured my heart and imagination the same way that Ratchet and Clank has. Like, usually when I say that so-and-so is my favourite of something, like, say, how I said that Codename Kids Next Door was my favourite children's cartoon, okay? That Codename Kids Next Door, in and of itself, is a TV show, right? So, TV shows, I've had to break down into, like, 3 subcategories to come up with favourites without having to indirectly go, oh, I can't decide which of these is my favourite. Because I've got favourite TV show, favourite cartoon, and favourite anime. I've had to split it up because I can't decide on a favourite. Ratchet and Clank, for me, doesn't have that difficulty. There's no contender. It's just my favourite video game of all time. And you might say that's rose-tinted glasses, that's nostalgia goggles. I had to play this game again to get the footage for today's review, and I just had the biggest, goofiest fucking grin on my face the entire time I was playing it, because it's still that good. This game has aged like a fucking red wine compared to some of the other games I played for the PlayStation 2. I mean, technically, yes, I did film this footage on the HD collection for PlayStation 3, but my point still stands. I mean, just look at the graphics in these cutscenes. Okay, by today's standards, yeah, not much to write home about, but they hold up. What I'm trying to say is that nostalgia has no sway over me. This game is objectively still fun, and it's still a great fucking game. So my opinion may come out a little biased, but no, I am still objectively mostly correct. Ratchet and Clank is the story of an alien cat-like creature called Ratchet and his small robotic companion Clank, on a mission to save the galaxy from the greedy, blogging business tycoon Chairman Drek, who's attempting to build a new homeworld for the blog using pieces of other planets across the Solana galaxy. One thing I have to give Ratchet and Clank's props to is the way they designed the back of the box. Now, in most video games, like, let's take this one, Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Flights. It was one of my little hidden gems. I really liked it. Played it once when I was really younger. I spent years trying to find it again. Anyway, if you look at the back of the box, all you've got is like a small little plot synopsis and a couple like screenshots with little captions like, oh, what's going on? This is what you can do. Ratchet and Clank does the same thing, but it does it in such a unique, in-universe way. There's a fucking wanted poster for Ratchet on the back of the box, explaining like what he is, what he does, what weapons you can use. It's just a really fun little design detail, and I really hope that whoever came up with this idea got a fucking raise for it. So the game takes place over a sprawling galactic map where each level is a different world. I say world because obviously you don't explore the entire planet, and sometimes you don't go to an actual world, you more just go to a space station or something similar. But the variety that you can get with some of these worlds is actually pretty impressive. Some of the more distinct locations I remember include the Smog-ridden Auxon, the refueling depot on Gaspar, the chilly setting of Hoban, the night station on Aridia, and Blackwater City on planet Rilgar. The design of the levels in terms of how they're structured are also pretty great. I mean, they are a little simplistic nowadays, but for the most part, they are still pretty good. There's usually at least 2 different missions to accomplish on each world. Maybe 3 at a push, but each mission area gets their own little music backing on their world. Yeah, every world has multiple backing tracks and each mission gets to have their own, which is pretty neat. And after it having been so long since I played this game, hearing some of the tunes again sent actual shivers down my spine, especially when I got to Metropolis on Planet Kerwan. Good God, hearing that music again, and if you've played Ratchet and Clank, you know what music I'm talking about. It was fucking rejuvenating. I cannot think of another word for it. Rejuvenating. I mean, to play a game like this, again, almost as if for the first time, I mean, how can I not feel as though I've managed to reclaim some small fragment of my childhood back? Especially with this gameplay, good God, I fucking love how this game plays. Ratchet's lithe and cat-like form gives him so much mobility and nimbleness when he moves around. It's a lot like Lara Croft, but a little bit more cartoony. Not too cartoony, mind, he's not completely made of rubber, but just enough to bounce and stretch him, you know? He can double jump, backflip, side jump, all that good stuff, you know? Which, you know, all that good shit, all that maneuverability, that's pretty useful considering all that third-person shooting Ratchet has to be doing. Oh yes, the best part of these games, the fucking armory. Ratchet has a few melee weapons to utilise, namely his ever-trusty Omni Wrench and the comically electrolysed boxing glove named No Walloper, a personal favourite of mine, if a tad reckless, but we play Ratchet and Clank for the absolutely mental shit. I mean, kind of. Ratchet and Clank over the years has courted a reputation for having a long list of absolutely insane weaponry at times, but the first game it was played mostly straight for the most part. There's a handful of close-range weapons that aren't melee, for example, the bomb glove, the mini glove, the decoy glove, the drone device, and my personal favourite, the Agents of Doom. Or, as me and my sister Sophie, you know, the one who I stole this game from, used to call them, our little explodey friends. Yes, run my children, blow them up. Yeah. We're all mental in my family. Then we get to more mid-ranged weapons, no longer dealing with gloves, but with actual firepower. The classic blaster, of course, the pyrocitor, basically a flamethrower, the taunter, which could be used to lure enemies towards you, very situational that one, just letting you know, the Tesla coil, the morpho ray, which turned enemies into chickens, fun at parties that one, and the suck cannon. Oh joy, that's a fun one. It could be used to suck up smaller enemies in crates and use them to fire back at other bad guys. It was awesome. And then we get to the heavy ordnance. I would do a thing where I lifted a larger weapon and like a rocket launcher onto my shoulder, but I don't have a prop one of those. So pretend I've got an RPG like JonTron. Now we're talking some serious shit. So let's start off with the Devastator, serving as your basic big badass rocket. Very big, very powerful, used for tanks and other stuff, but sometimes enemies are kind of a bit of an ammo sponge for the Devastator. Which is when you brought out the Visibomb, a remote controlled guided missile you could fire from a distance and slam it right up your target's ass. And if they're still standing after all that, then there's only one thing for it. The Devastator ain't cutting it, the Visibomb not enough, then ladies and gentlemen, I have a solution for you, and it comes with 4 letters, 9 barrels, 1 trigger, and a big old price tag. For those of you who can afford it, I give you the Rhino. R-Y-N-O. Rip ya a new one. The Rhino is the most powerful weapon in Ratchet and Clank and has the most legend and prestige behind its name. Literally one-shotting anything that has a pulse, anything that doesn't have a pulse, and anything that even looks like it might be a threat. One trigger pull and bang, your problems are solved. If the Gadgeton Rhino doesn't kill it on the first shot, you can be dang well sure that it can't fucking crawl away fast enough to avoid the second. As soon as you can afford it. Oh yeah, this weapon has a big old price tag. You think I'm kidding? This thing is worth a grand total of 150,000 bolts, the game's currency. How many bolts are there in the game? Literally not enough. There are not enough bolts in a single playthrough of this game to buy the Rhino. Unless, you know, you're a cheating asshole who wanted to get footage of this legendary weapon for your review, so you looked up exploits for the PlayStation 2 version of the game that were luckily not patched out for the PlayStation 3 remaster, just so you could get a whole shit to the bolts and buy the Rhino. But who's that asshole? I'm not proud. I do feel shame. But it's worth it. Just hearing the soundbite of the rhino being equipped is worth the shame, because did I mention that each weapon has their own unique equipped sound effect? And that just makes them so goddamn cool. I mean, obviously the gloves don't have any sound effects for them being equipped, but I mean, what does that matter when equipping the flamethrower sounds like this? Or equipping the rocket launcher sounds like this? As you can probably tell, I love this game a lot. The game also has 6 different gadgets to help get around the levels. The swing shot, to swing across large gaps. The hydro displacer, basically a big bottle of water to drain large pools and put the water somewhere else for a little bit. The hollow guys, which can give you the appearance of a sentry robot. The metal detector, which you can use to help find underground caches of bolts. The personal delivery assistant, which you can use to buy ammo away from the vendors around the world, though at a 10 times price hike. And the trespasser, which is used to hack into electronic locks, which is done through this little nice mini game to get these beams on these 3 rings into the laser tumblers. Doesn't appear to actually have a definition of what the fuck those are, so that's what their name is now. Those are officially the laser tumblers. There are also 2 different sets of automatically equipped boots. The grind boot, with which Ratchet can grind on rails, and the magna boots, with which he can walk on metal surfaces. Fun little detail, watch him try and jump with the boots on. He can't. That's adorable. There are also 3 helmets you collect, 1 for breathing underwater and in zero atmosphere, 1 for controlling a jet fighter, and 1 for summoning little flying mice with machine guns. Can I also just take a moment right now to just quickly fillet the game's quick select menu? This is genuinely the most intuitive and simple method of picking the right tools for the job. You have 8 slots to put any combination of weapon and gadget into for quick and easy access without having to manually equip them from the pause menu. These weapons and gadgets can be selected by pressing the triangle button and highlighting them with the left analog stick. Simple, quick and easy to understand. You don't have to scroll through a dozen different weapons or remember different button combinations. It's just one button and a single push of the analog stick. It is so simple. With so many insane weapons and gadgets for you to choose from, having a simple and easy method of being able to pick out your favorites, something that really stuck out to me when I was younger, especially given like the unique different logos and symbols that each weapon had. I mean, some of the later games would have very samey kind of designs for weapons that made picking them in a bit of a rush a little distracting at times. And even now, in the first Ratchet and Clank, the gadgets had different colours to the weapons, which made it stand out a little bit more, which I always thought was pretty neat. Now, most of this gameplay revolves around Ratchet being the bigger bipedal mascot out of the pair, but that's not to say that Clank doesn't get a piece of the action as well. There are a couple of sections where Clank gets to explore certain environments. Now, in later games, these would only be areas accessible by way of Clank, as they were too small for Ratchet to enter, but the original Ratchet and Clank's rather limited use of these sections were for a much more story-based reason, as the environments Clank got to explore lacked a breathable atmosphere for Ratchet. This also means that Ratchet could go back to those areas later on with the O2 mask to find collectibles that Clank was unable to reach. I mean, realistically, there are only like 2 instances where you get to explore these environments as Clank. But for the most part, I think they're some of the best of the series simply because of the fact that because they're just like oxygen zero atmospheres, you get to explore them later on as Ratchet, which I always thought was kind of neat. Obviously, being smaller than Ratchet, Clank doesn't have the same arsenal, and his only direct attack is punching the shit out of things. Naturally, of course, this is only a viable option against enemies that can be killed with one hit. After all, Clank isn't One Punch Man. So instead of fighting harder, Clank usually fights smarter, and by that I mean he gets slaves to do the fighting for him. The Gadgetbots have 4 simple commands that can be accessed via the quick select menu: follow, wait, enter and attack. Clank's sections often revolve around guiding various numbers of Gadgetbots to security gates where they act as keys to access the next area. But that's not to say that that is Clank's only method of helping Ratchet. Clank is upgraded 3 times during the game with various packs: the Helipack, the Thruster Pack and the Hydro Pack. The Helipack allows Ratchet to jump higher than he would before, lets him glide through the air and gives him a decent long jump. The Thruster Pack might at first appear to be a cosmetic reskin for the Helipack, but it offers 2 new features: the Power Slam move, used to unlock big locks, and it unlocks the Strafe maneuver. And this game is 18 years old. I am 23. I have played this a good few times. This is the first time I realised this feature existed. And then there's the Hydro Pack, which is only useful in water and is used to swim faster. backtracking a little bit to that strafe maneuver I just mentioned. The fact you have to wait halfway through the game to unlock something like strafing is not great, I'm gonna be honest. The mechanic itself also isn't perfect. Because using it requires the thruster pack to hover a few inches off the ground, it also means Ratchet doesn't have full walking speed and has this kind of slippery ice physics feel to his movements. His movements are also restricted too in that he can't flip, jump or backflip while strafing, so the only way to dodge incoming attacks is to sort of float slowly from side to side. And there are some small issues with the combat I've recently noticed playing this game again. The strafing is the only way you can remain facing your targets whilst backing up, so if you're fighting an aggressive melee enemy with a melee attack, you're forced on the defensive until you can back up to a point where you can turn around and fight back. Especially considering that the auto-aiming for the weapons is at once both too precise and not precise enough. I mean, you have to be really close with the weapon in question in order for it to hit on who you want it to, but at the same time, it does miss shots fairly often. It's not so bad that it gets annoying, however. It's just mildly irritating. For the most part, I remember it working as well as it did when I was a kid. There are also a few mini-games to go through throughout the game. There are 2 hoverboarding races you can participate in, a couple of sections where you control a jet fighter, and 2 parts of the game where you play as Giant Clank, where you channel your inner Godzilla to rock'em sock'em some bad guys. Now, I apologise for having gone through this game with a fine-tooth comb in terms of all its mechanics. I want you guys to have a perfect frame of reference for this game's gameplay whilst we go into the story. And the story is carried by almost a buddy cop drama. The story begins with Clank crash landing on Ratchet's home planet of Veldin after discovering Chairman Drake's plan to take apart other planets in the Solana galaxy to make a new home for his people to Blarg after their own planet of Auxon became overpopulated and overpolluted. The two come to an arrangement to help each other out, in exchange for Ratchet helping Clank find galactic hero Captain Quark to enlist him in stopping the Blarg. Clank will help Ratchet explore the galaxy by activating his handmade ship. Now, obviously these two being the protagonists are good guys, but it's important to note where they start so we can appreciate where they end up.
Currently I'm in search of someone who could be of assistance in saving the solar system. Do you know where I might find that fellow?
Well, he's on the radio every week. Other than that, no. Hey, what's with all this save the solar system stuff anyway?
Hello, citizens of... My race, the Blarg, have a small problem. Our planet has become so polluted, overpopulated, and poisonous that we are no longer able to dwell here. But I, Chairman Drake, have a solution. We are constructing a pristine new world using the choicest planetary components available. So, what does this mean to you might ask? Using highly sophisticated technology, which you couldn't possibly understand, we will be extracting a large portion of your planet and adding it to our new one. Unfortunately, this change in mass will cause your planet to spin out of control and drift into the sun, where it will explode into a flaming ball of gas. But, of course, sacrifices must be made. Thank you for your cooperation.
Cut!
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!
The people on those planets are hosed. Well, good luck getting Captain Quark to help you.
Actually, you could help me. If you could use your ship to take me to the coordinates contained in this infobot, I might be able to gather further information there.
Even if I wanted to, I can't. I'm missing a crucial component of the ship.
The robotic ignition system.
How did you know that?
I, sir, happen to be equipped with the latest in robotic ignition systems.
So, I agree to take you to this, wherever it is, and you get my ship started for me?
Clank is a little more wide-eyed and innocent than Ratchet, having just been made a few hours previous. However, he has a very clear sense of right and wrong, good and evil, and he's just a very selfless person going out of his way to help the people of the galaxy. However, he is subject to a little prejudice as he sees Quark as someone who can help him with his quest, and Ratchet is just a means to do so. He doesn't see Ratchet as a hero who can help him save the galaxy, he sees him as a guy who can take him to the real hero, He basically sees Ratchet as a cabbie at this point pretty much. Ratchet on the other hand is more cynical and world-worn. He obviously has an innate sense of right and wrong given how he went to Clank's crash site to search for potential survivors, but he's also kind of self-centered. He sees the same video of Drek threatening planets as Clank did, but his response is left at a kind of sucks to be them kind of thing. He only offers to help those in need if they can help him in return. He only agrees to help Clank because helping Clank serves his own need of exploring the galaxy. It's an interesting dynamic at first because, to start with, their goals sort of align in finding Captain Quark and fighting Drek where they can. Ratchet humours Clank's initial innocence and Clank guides Ratchet along towards a heroic goal. Things change, however, when they actually meet Captain Quark. The first act of the game is focused on finding Captain Quark to enlist his help in stopping Drek. This act ends when you finally meet him, and Act 2 begins when he betrays you.
I love it when a plan comes together!
But why?
But why? It's really not that difficult to decipher. I'm the official spokesman for Drek's new planet. I can't have you two getting in the way of my comeback.
This isn't over, Quark.
No. But it will be soon.
Obviously, Clank's tunnel vision to Quark almost getting them killed doesn't sit well with Ratchet, and this reveals the ugly side to both characters.
Captain Quark is gonna be sorry he messed with me.
This is not about Captain Quark anymore. There are innocent lives being lost.
Yeah? Well, I'm done with this stupid hero stuff. I got my own agenda now.
Ratchet, this is not like you.
What do you know about me? You've spent this whole time looking for Quark. You don't know anything about me.
I know that you will do the right thing.
Well, right now the thing I want to do is find Quark. How do you start this stupid thing?
Have you forgotten? You need a robotic ignition system. I will start the ship if you agree to help that commando.
So, blackmail is it? Fine. Just shut up and start the ship.
This cutscene right here, by the way, it's something I loved about the original Ratchet and Clank. While a lot of critics criticise Ratchet as being unlikable, this sudden shift in both of their characters endeared me more to both of them. It didn't sugarcoat it or anything, it just laid bare the idea that neither of our protagonists were perfect. They're both flawed individuals with genuinely good hearts and personalities, but they aren't perfect. Ratchet is rash, impulsive, angry, petty and selfish. Clank isn't as obvious with how nasty he becomes here, but it's there. He's manipulative towards Ratchet in order to ensure Ratchet's continued support in stopping Drek, and he's also dismissive of Ratchet's feelings regarding how being betrayed and almost killed might make him feel. Clank also underplays how he intentionally had a big part in almost getting the both of them killed. These two aren't flawless heroes, and I love that they are portrayed as such, because despite these flaws, they are still heroes, damn it. The second act of the game is the two of them working towards their united but conflicted goal of stopping Chairman Drek. Clank out of a want to help the galaxy, and Ratchet out of a want to kick the snot out of Captain Quark. Of course, they do disrupt a lot of Drek's plans for creating his new world, which leads to a less than happy Drek. Drek, by the way, is one of my favourite villains of this series, probably tied with Dr. Nefarious from Ratchet and Clank 3, but we're not talking about that now. We're talking about a surprisingly charismatic and ruthless business tycoon. I mean, by the end of the game, his full corporate title is Ultimate Supreme Executive Chairman Drek, but he can balance professionalism, tyranny, and comedy from his first on-screen appearance. His motivations seem very complex for a villain too. I mean, what he wants is to provide a new home for his people, right? The method of which he does so shows his remorseless nature and sociopathic tendencies. Case in point, where he goes from just harvesting the resources he needs from planets to blowing up planets that are in the perfect orbit for his new planet.
Hello again, everyone. Supreme Executive Chairman Drek here to fill you in on our progress. We have now found the perfect orbit for our planet, one which will allow for the optimum temperature all year round. However, there is a planet now occupying that orbit, and sadly, for its few insignificant inhabitants, it must be destroyed. That's why we've created this! The Planet Buster Maximus, a device capable of blowing an entire planet into subatomic particles. We're quite proud of it. Here's how it works. We attach the Planet Buster to this ship, fly it into orbit around the planet, and let it go! Kaboom! Quite ingenious, really. Once our trained professionals put the finishing touches on our new planet, everything will be complete. Thank you! Goodbye.
and when Ratchet and Clank destroy his Planet Buster bomb, he sends Quark out to finish the job he sent him to do earlier. The ensuing space dogfight is where Act 2 ends, because after proving that Quark is nothing but a washed up celebrity, the pair get their heads on straight and finally begin to head after Drek for real. Which is a good thing too, because this planet in the perfect orbit for Drek's new world, yeah, that orbit is Veldin.
My fellow Blarg, our synthetic world is now fully functional and ready for habitation. However, there is one small obstacle in our way. This pathetic lump of a planet. Due to some blunder of fate, it happens to occupy the galaxy's most perfect orbit. But no more. Behold, the Deplanetizer, the most powerful laser ever created. Soon, we'll move the Deplanetizer into place just above the planet's surface. I will, of course, be on hand to press the button that will blow this mudball to smithereens. No one will even miss it. See you then!
Ratchet, are you all right?
He is going to pay!
Excuse me?
It shouldn't have taken me this long to see it! Drek is going to find out what happens when you mess with my home.
That's a yikes out of 10 from me, Captain. So it comes down to this, down to the fight between Ratchet and Clank and Drek on Drek's new planet killer, the Deplanetizer. And this is my favourite moment of Clank in this game.
So it has come to this. Once I step on this ignition switch, a countdown will commence. The end of which signals the destruction of your pitiful world.
There must be another way to make a home for your people.
You think that's what this is about? Who do you think polluted our last world? I did. This is about one thing and one thing only. Cash, and lots of it. You see, I've been paid for every square inch of my new world. Once the inhabitants move in, I will begin polluting this world as well. Then the whole thing starts all over again. Ah, brilliant.
Why, you evil little...
Save it, Clank. We have to stop that timer.
I love this, not even twists, but just confirmation of Drek's shitty character. And I love the reversal on after Quark betrayed them. Now Clank is the one who can barely contain his anger and frustration at the enemy in front of them, and Ratchet is the one going, hey, focus up. And let me tell you, the fight with the Rhino versus without it is like so much easier, it is literally not even fun. Like, watch how Drek's health fucking melts. But fighting Drek without the Rhino, it's a pretty decent challenge. Actually, a lot of his attacks are reminiscent of weapons Ratchet can buy. He's got a cannon that can launch bombs like the Bomb Glove, rockets like the Devastator, mines like the Mine Glove, minions like the Agent of Doom, and an electric blast like the Tesla Core. Honestly, I remember this being one of the hardest fights in the game when I was younger, and even now, it's still pretty challenging. And the comeuppance is sweet. I mean, it is a little wasteful because Ratchet and Clank kinda just use a Deplanetizer on Drek's planet, but it's fine, I guess. They just kill him, so it's okay. Then our heroes go home and chill out on the couch. I mean, I guess Ratchet's thirst for adventure was sated for a while, and that's Ratchet and Clank. That's my favourite video game. I love it. I mean, I've already gone through literally everything in this game. Yes, it's a slightly exploitable, rough around the edges, lacking polish third-person shooter with platform elements, but you know what? I couldn't give a fuck about the lack of polish. I love the music this game has. I love the sound design. I love the design of the world. I love the villain, and above all else, I love the heroes. There's a reason these two have fostered a legacy of games lasting for fucking 2 decades at this point. I mean, you might disagree with me, you might not agree with my opinion, but to me this is a masterpiece. This is a game that should be preserved in the annals of gaming history, and I think we can skip the preamble. We all know what this is getting. It's getting 101.
You know, this time I am thinking what you're thinking.
So it's been a hot minute since I did a review. Some of you may have seen, I've tried to do a lot of things in the months I've been gone. Some of them you're never gonna see, some of them you might already have seen. I'm not stopping, but it is getting difficult to make reviews now with a social life and all. I am planning on doing more live streams though. If you've seen any of those on the channel, I'm planning on doing those every Saturday at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. GMT, so I don't know what that is in American time or anything. But if you want to join us on Saturday, that would be appreciated, yeah. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this review of Ratchet and Clank, my favourite video game. Hope you guys all have a great new year. A great new decade. Happy 2020, everybody. Sweet dreams.